Hey friends, by now you've heard that Joann Fabrics is closing. What do we do about this? This is their second foray into bankruptcy in the last 12 months. It's actually just 8 months after they first entered bankruptcy, and it really looks like it's the end. So what do you do? Well, I'm going to make a suggestion. There are a lot of independent fabric stores online and in communities that are fairly close by, probably to where you live. Now, not everybody's going to be covered by a fabric store, and there are some really wonderful online options, and working with independent fabric stores is really the way to go. Joann's hasn't carried garment fabric of any kind of quality in the last 10 years. They carry a lot of fleece, they carry some quilting cottons, and they carry home decor to that type of thing. But mostly what they carry is a lot of junk that we don't really need. So I'm going to give you some suggestions in a blog post of the places that I shop, both in my local community and in other communities online. And I'm also going to give you some direct online retailers that aren't affiliated with any necessarily brick and mortar store, but are really great online retailers as well. And then I'm going to share with you why you want to do this. So first off, I have a local fabric store. Now I realize I'm lucky, but I live in a metropolitan area of about 110,000 people, and I have about between 20 and 60,000 people in my community, depending, because I live in a college town, depending on what time of year it is. So in the summer, we're about 20,000, and in the winter, we're like 60, 70 because of all the college students. So I don't live in a big town, and my sewing store is actually quite small, but they have almost everything I need. And if they don't have it, there are a couple of other independent sewing stores in other communities, college towns as it turns out, that I also favor when I place orders online. So my local fabric store is Seams Fabric in East Lansing and in Kalamazoo, both university towns, not big communities. They're both small stores. They're run by the same owner who has wonderful staff. And when you walk in there, you get so much more than fabric. You get help, you get advice. I can't tell you how many times I've walked in and said, I'd like to make a such and such. And they're like, oh, no. What you want is this. And this turns out to be way better than what I was thinking. The other thing you get is encouragement to continue your sewing journey, not just buy stuff. So I'll give you an example. My local fabric store is doing a Make 9 challenge this year. And you can use fabric that you have purchased from them in your stash over the years and sew it. And if you make 8 projects, they're going to give you the 9th one. They're going to give you a coupon to buy fabric. So you're going to get a $60 coupon to buy fabric for your 9th project. And you have the entire year to sew. So what opportunity do you have to get $60 worth of fabric at Joann's that you're actually going to want to sew? But more important, the encouragement to use your stash. I can't think of a better way. So I bought so many patterns and fabrics from my local fabric store over the years that they've been open, and I really, really want to sew that down. Now, I probably will have to buy some fabric along the way, of course, but I've got a great opportunity to build up a really wonderful little capsule wardrobe for my Make 9 this year. And I want to share that with you, and I want to tell you a little bit why I think the closing of Joann's is probably going to be a good thing for all of us as sewists in the future. So here's my Make 9. And I have picked, and you can see this at my blog, I have picked 9 patterns that, incidentally, I got most of them from my local fabric store. One of them is a vintage pattern that I've had in my stash a while and I wanted to make. But I got most of these from my local fabric store, and I have all the fabrics for these except for 2 garments, I think, that are not in here. So I am definitely going to be utilizing the stuff that I have. Now, why is this a big deal? Because it's a big deal because the local companies that we support aren't big private equity corporations. They're not large institutional organizations who don't care about it or don't know about it. When was the last time you walked into a Joann Fabric and had someone actually help you pick out the right pattern and the right fabric, or that you were even able to find the pattern that you wanted anyway? It's been a long time. They haven't carried garment fabric of any kind of quality for at least 10 years. Now, they used to back in the day, and everyone shopped at Joann's, and they had some great stuff. But over the years, it's become cheaper. They've removed most of the good stuff. And you really do have to go to an independent fabric store to get good stuff. So a couple of my favorite retailers, besides Seams Fabric, if you're in the metropolitan Detroit area, try Haberman Fabrics. They're in Clawson, so they're centrally located. excellent store, but they don't have an online presence. You can call them and ask them, and they will send you swatches, but it's more of a manual process, right? If you don't have a local fabric store, you could call my local fabric store, and they would be happy to help you. They have a fully stocked online store of everything you need. And if you have questions, you can call them or email them, and they would be delighted to help you pick out patterns and fabric that would work well together. I have also bought some specialty stuff from The Confident Stitch in Missoula, Montana, another university store. And I regularly follow Firecracker Fabrics, which is located in Pittsburgh, and Oak Fabrics, which is located in Chicago. Now, Chicago also has Vogue Fabrics, which is located in Evanston, and they do have a more limited online store. They don't have everything, but if you're in the Chicagoland area, you definitely know about Vogue, and you should be shopping there and Oak Fabrics. Now, if you're in other parts of the country, you should consider, if you are vacationing or if you're traveling to another city, that you look up and see if there is an independent fabric store in your area, because odds are there probably is. And it really does make a difference to shop those independent local retailers because they offer so much better support and service. And things like this Make 9 challenge, they're really invested in getting you to sew your stash, the things you already bought, and the things that you might still want in the future. Joann's doesn't care about any of that. The people that own Joann don't care about that. They're private equity people. All they care about is extracting the most amount of money possible by selling cheap junk that you don't need, and they stopped selling fabric a long time ago. Now, there's also some really great online retailers that I like too. Fabricstore.com, fabric-store.com sells terrific linens, and they have a whole line of wonderful free patterns. So that's a really good choice if you like linen fabrics. You can also use Mood Fabrics online. They also have a line of great freebie patterns, and they have a wonderful selection of things you might not be able to get in some of these other smaller independent fabric stores like Fake Fur and other things like that. So Mood is another great choice, and they do operate stores in Miami and New York, and I think in Los Angeles as well. LA Finch Fabrics has a lot of dead stock fabric, and they're also getting into some of the higher end cottons for quilting and garment making, so you might check them out. That's LA Finch out there in California. There are a few others that I will link in my blog posts that I think are actually worthy of consideration, including some that specialize in natural fibers, particularly with knits, and as well as some other companies that sell knits that are not 100% natural fibers, but they have a really nice selection, and a lot of it is made, some of it is made actually in North America. So there's some really great choices out there for you to spend your money at a place that doesn't involve going to Joann Fabrics. Now, what do you do about notions? Well, if your local fabric store doesn't have it, or you don't want to order from your local fabric store, indie store, you can always use Wawak, W-A-W-A-K. They have everything you need, Zipper Source and Zipper Stop, and I'll link all of these in my blog posts so that you have them. So Zipper Source and Zipper Stop are two of my favorites to get specialty zippers, including the fancy colored ones, Riri zippers, those ones. Those are always a lot of fun, nice pulls, things like that. Buttons and trims, absolutely choose one of those online retailers. And if you have a local fabric store, or you are using a local fabric store like mine and you don't see something, call them, email them, ask them. They might be like, hey, we've had other customers ask that too, and we would really like to bring in that product line to sell in our store. Now, Joann's isn't going to do that for you. They won't even bring in any of the good stuff. So I'm not saying don't be upset about Joann's, but I'm saying definitely consider that the craft market isn't something that these big companies want to be a part of anymore, and they've been moving away from it and away from it and away from it. So we have a real opportunity right now to support the formation, development, and sustainability of these local independent fabric stores. And if you don't have one in your area and you're looking to get started, it's not going to make you a ton of money, right? It's a small business. But you might want to call, say, one of these other companies in another state and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing it. Give me the good, bad, and the ugly about it. There are some real opportunities to connect with people in a sense of community and in a way that a lot of us are really yearning for by choosing a local fabric store. So am I upset Joann Fabrics is closing? No. They'll fill that retail space with something else. Now, yarnies, I want to talk a little bit about yarnies because I also am a yarnie as well. So yarnies, a lot of you, and I know I'm part of it, really like the inexpensive offerings that you'll get when you buy at Joann Fabrics. You can still buy that stuff online. Those companies aren't going out of business. And Joann, even their own product line is licensed by somebody else. So somebody else is going to put it out there and you'll be able to buy that online. I would encourage local yarn shops to look at getting some affordable blended yarns, probably not 100% wool or cashmere or alpaca, but maybe, a little bit of those things with acrylic and other things mixed in that makes sense for people who are on a budget or who want to buy that, pound of love to make the Afghan that will last forever. Those types of things, I hope our independent yarn shops do step up into that, and that there are producers that step up into that give them a high enough quality that they're not, hey, we've got this, junk over here, but a high enough quality that they can offer an affordable entry-level price point for the kinds of projects people want to knit and crochet. So if you're a yarnie, and there are several wonderful yarn shops locally, so if you're a yarnie, that's definitely something that you might want to take a look at as your local independent yarn store. These are small businesses. If I order from my local fabric shop and I can't get there, the owner, if she's coming near the high school where she has kids at the high school, the owner will drop it off on my porch, my front porch. Or I can pick it up the next time I'm in. So that kind of level of personal service is not something you're ever going to see from a big company. They don't care about us. But my local fabric store absolutely cares about me. And I care about them. And I go out of my way to make sure that I buy from them. At Christmas time, I had a couple things on my list, but my kids also wanted to get me something. And so they walked into the store, and the owner took my 14-year-old aside and said, "Come on over here with me. I know exactly what your mom likes, and more important, I know what she already has." And took him aside, and I got some absolutely wonderful gifts. While I wandered over to the knitting store to purchase the rest of my Christmas gifts, my son was being helped out with his budget by the owner of the other store with things that I didn't have and were really wonderful gifts. So you're not going to get that kind of personalized service from Joann's friends. And I'm not really going to miss them. And I hazard to guess that a lot of you aren't either. Once you start embracing, and I get it, a lot of you live in communities where there aren't other fabric stores, but they will start popping up. And once we start embracing buying from independent retailers instead of these large corporations who are owned by private equity companies, we're going to start to see a resurgence. Small business drives this country. It's just a lot of them have been pushed out by these large businesses and by all the stuff we're buying online. You can still buy fabric online, absolutely. Just buy it from one of these independent retailers. They would love your business. And if you have any questions, you can call, email, message them on social media, whatever. They'd be happy to help you and build up the business and get you as a customer that they really want. So don't be afraid. Joann's going away isn't a big deal. I'm not sensationalizing it, and neither should you. It's just a thing. Let's go support our independent fabric stores and check out my blog post for a list of a whole bunch of them that I have linked.